The entertainment, media, and marketing industries have changed dramatically since both of you started your careers. There was cable and then internet and then streaming and then social. So what would you say is really the secret to capturing attention now, whether it's an individual or a show or a corporate brand?
Sure. I mean, God, you made it sound like we started the Stone Ages, girl. I mean, but it's
that's when I started. So
yeah, I'm like, speak for yourself. No, but you're right. Look, the landscape has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. The way that consumers listen to entertainment or watch entertainment has changed, that I find that, being on top of just what people are trying, how they are communicating with each other is the only way in which to mimic so that you can be part of the conversation. And that's whether you're a brand or an individual, a show like ours. I mean, obviously, Jimmy is on TV every day. And so he has the pressure of being able to, evolve so that he can continue to keep the audience that he has. So I guess my perspective is just from a brand lens, which is that in order to stay relevant, you really do have to pay attention to the time. What worked 20 years ago certainly won't work today.
I think it changes day by day by day by day. You never really can. And there's probably a couple weeks where you go hey, this is where everyone's going. And then it changes. Nope, they invented a new thing called flip-flop. Everyone's on flip-flop. And you go, what? I didn't even heard of that. And they go, oh, you got to sign up. You're late to the game. But it's always changing, and I'm always interested in seeing what the next moves are. Especially social media. When we first started late night, I remember one of our producers, Gavin Purcell, who's fantastic. He was like, you got to get on Twitter. And I was like, what is that? He's like, well, it's this thing. And he's explaining Twitter to me. I go, okay. And then I'm like, and we'll put our shows on Twitter. He's like, yeah, we can do streaming shows, just before we even start up late night, just to get a following going. And I remember getting maybe 100 followers. And I was jumping up and down. I was that into it because I was I could see the metrics and the data. I love metrics. I love data. I love to see how things are go up or down or sideways, or what type of people are listening or retweeting. Or I love all that type of stuff. So we just jumped on and tried everything when it comes out and see if it works for you. And you kind of have to learn it and adapt to it. And I think number one is still YouTube. As far as growth and how much engagement with everybody, it's just the biggest thing. And I don't know if there's anything close.
Yeah.
When you have, though, all these channels and, varying in popularity, but all the smart, people and shows and brands are on them, are trying all of them, how do you sort of craft either a persona or a campaign that can break through all of that noise?
But I think some of it has to be consistency. Just back to the last question, I also want to give props to Jimmy himself as a person, because he really does throw himself into the creative and into the work, So yes, social media is a powerful tool, but without him actually being in it and, doing the trend every day, it's not just oh, there's this tool and this platform out there and, try to engage on it. Jimmy is putting himself in the work. And I think that's actually necessary, whether it's a show or a brand, that the consistency is how you show up. If every day you're trying to be something different on the platform, nobody's going to trust you. People they don't like that.
Thanks for saying that. But I think that's also how you find your brand.
Yeah.
By trying everything on, you go, hey, do I wear bangs? Do I have a bob? Do I have a short hair? You have to try it to see if that's your style. And you go, hey, I think I found my style, everybody. I think for me growing up, I was a very fad type of person. I was very into fads and trying new things. And I was wearing, zipper pants. This is in the 80s. And,
Jams.
Yes. The best. I love my jams. Oh my
gosh. Peg leg jeans. Yeah.
I had all that stuff, and I go, "Is this my move? Is this gonna?" Yes, I thought I found it, but it was that generation. I feel like they were just fads. There were things that were in for 2 years and then out. Even the music in the 80s, it's a lot more one-hit wonders, I think, than any decade. But that was because everyone was trying new things and seeing what's happened. So I think my brain, growing up in that generation of having one-offs and one-hit wonders and things constantly changing and what am I into, probably influenced who I am today and how I can function with changing things, and are you good with change? A lot of people aren't good with change, and it freaks people out, and they go, I can't have a new office. I'm used to my old office. I go, same office. It's
Yeah.
what are you doing in there? It's the same deal. It's like
Different
it's all gonna be,
platform, same
yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But like Bozoma was saying, you try, you have to try, and you got to get up to bat and swing,
Yeah.
and sometimes you hit a home run, sometimes you strike out, but at least you're trying.
Both of you have very strong personal brands. And I think a lot of that comes from authenticity. But how did you think about that as sort of you built your careers? Bozoma for you in marketing with big jobs at, Pepsi and Uber and Apple and Netflix, and Jimmy for you with moving from, comedy to stand up to SNL to films and then late night.
Yeah. A personal brand is such an interesting thing because, many people will say that like, oh, that's like a waste of time, especially if you're in corporate settings, but really it's just new language for what a reputation is, and for me, it's like, look, when I started out in this business, of course I was trying to mimic the successful people ahead of me. It's like I looked at the corner offices and said, okay, what are they wearing? How do they talk in meetings? What are the ideas they bring? Like, how do they do the thing they do? And why do people listen to them? And I just tried to mimic it. Unfortunately, that did not work, and it didn't work for all the reasons that now, as more mature adults, we know is because it just didn't fit, and you can't be authentic. And I know it's an overused word, but like we were saying before, even as Jimmy explained about, trying things on and seeing what fits, for me, it was like this unraveling of who I was trying to be versus who I am, and my personal brand became what it is and is because it's actually just me. It's like,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
do wear interesting clothes and I do gesture a lot with my hands and I cry because I get emotional and my hair is always something different, because all of those things allow me the freedom to be exactly who I am in every room. And it has made me a better executive. It has made me a better mother. It's made me a better friend. It's made me a better contributor to society and a better creative for all those reasons. And so I think the personal brand gets a little confused sometimes because people are trying to strategize around it. And I'm like, no, if you just become more of yourself, then that actually will sustain over time.
Is it because people can trust you?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
because you're like,
because
oh,
then you
that's
never come out
Bose.
of character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I forget who said, but someone said, yeah. God, I always tell the truth because it's too much work to lie.
Yes, it's too much work. It's too much to lie. Yeah, it's too
Yeah.
hard.
What about you, Jimmy?
I think when I first started out, I was just hungry and I was focused on, getting on Saturday Night Live. That was my goal. So I did stand up and I did impressions of celebrities because I knew that Saturday Night Live used those people on the show to do like characters and impressions. So that was going to be my way into Saturday Night Live. So I would do in my stand-up, I would do impressions of like John Travolta, I'd be like, geez, I swear to God, I can't believe this over here. Like, Sandy, what's going on? Right. I'd like do, and I don't know why Saturday Night Live would need a John Travolta impersonator, but that was part of my act. But that led to other characters, which led to me doing Adam Sandler, where it's like, it's like, and you do all that type of stuff, and then you go, oh, that stuff we can maybe use. And I just think that was my ultimate goal, is just getting into Saturday Night Live, and let's just check that off. That's like the bucket list per se, or whatever you call it. But that was my goal, and I got that at 23. And then once you get it, you go, okay, now what do I do with this? Because I didn't plan ahead. I didn't have 3 other goals. That was it for me. I'm like, I got to figure out what my next goal is. So the next parts were kind of interesting because you're like, now you're here. What is your next goal? Do you want to be a movie star? Do you want to be a sitcom star? Do you want to record music? What is your thing? I had no clue. So I've kind of had to think of a new goal and kind of find it as I was going and see if it kind of fit. I think always for me, as far as material wise, it was very family friendly. I never really cursed in my actor. It's kind of almost prudish. I think it was my Irish Catholic upbringing, but that's not really changed for me. So that kind of stayed. on brand. But I think I kind of just grew and said, well, maybe I can do this. And then if that didn't work out, I tried movies. They didn't really work. And then you just kind of go back to like just trying stuff and seeing what sticks. And, getting into the talk show world, I didn't really know what I was doing either there. But, I got a lot of practice, and I was on at 12:30 at night where no one was watching.
I think a few people were watching.
Yeah, maybe like prison guards. I don't know who else, and college kids. But I mean, I had to do that and kind of figure out there how to have an interview, how to talk to somebody. Am I nervous? I still get nervous. But it's fun. It's because I care, I think, and I want to do a great job. But you get another opportunity, and then you grow, and you see how you can do that best, and then you see what other challenges are out there, and see how you can.
It sounds like you both, very much found your distinct lanes, despite the fact that you're both in crowded fields. How would each of you describe your leadership brand, right? Because you're both bosses. You're running organizations, you're running shows, you're running teams of people. So, what is your unique style or the unique thing that you bring
I think
to a
Bose is
collaborative
better.
team?
Bose is better at this than I am.
No,
My
but
leadership skills.
you are an informal
Totally.
leader, even if you're not called the CEO of the Tonight Show or the CEO of NBC Entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still my boss. I mean, I still consider him my boss, honestly. So, I mean, hell, you're a leader of me, if nothing else. Okay.
Yeah, come on. But I mean, but you have that you have that feeling when you get in the room with Bozeman St. John. You go, whoa, this is like
She's in
you feel like.
charge.
Yeah, well, you feel like someone smart is in the room. Whereas I'm here, it's like, oh my gosh, we have Uncle Buck is here.
Oh my God.
It's like,
This is so ridiculous. I swear.
substitute teachers here. I'm always reading books, and I'd be curious to ask you also what books I should read for management. And I love all that stuff, and I love self-help books and learning constantly about how to do it better, and even if not, remind yourself of what works and what doesn't work. Like being mad doesn't work. I know that. So if
being mad doesn't work.
It just right.
No, it's so interesting. I think my leadership style has changed, of course, over years and different experiences. Like the way that I led my Apple Music team in launching the brand and the service itself was far different from the way I led when I became chief marketing officer at Netflix. One, because they were so different in terms of not just the product, but the time. I started at Netflix. We were 2 months into the pandemic. And I remember my first staff meeting. I mean, there's like well over 1,000 marketers, and I didn't see anybody's face. And I think I'm the kind of leader that does need to be in the room. I'd like to be in front of people. I want to see your face and your reaction and see if like what I'm saying is inspiring. Is it funny? Like, are you confused by what I'm saying? Like, I need all of that to be able
a reaction.
Yeah, I need something. I was just looking at this green dot, and it was such a like an impossible time of trying to inspire people to be more creative and think out of the box and like all of the things that we say at a time when nobody knew what the hell was going on. But the constant theme throughout, I think, for me in leadership has always been knowing the detail, of what is going on, like understanding what people are interested in on my teams, because the challenge is that you put all of the pressure on the results and you don't think about the people, and I have had the kind of career where, in order to really do the work, we had to be so close to culture, that like I needed different types of people on my team, people who didn't know what I know, who know things differently. I take a lot from physics, which is like the idea of matter, that, matter is made up of molecules and you change one molecule and the entire matter changes, and for me, I'm like, matter is a team, the people that I'm working with, and you change one molecule and the whole thing changes. And so understanding the importance of every single person who is contributing, they can be the assistant or they could be the SVP of a region, like their contributions are so important. And so making people know that so that they want to show up to their job, they want to do the best job that they can do because they know how important they are because I told them that, has been a constant leadership tool for me.
I
Also,
love
what you
that.
just said too, like also showing up, I think is one thing that you learn as the more you do this, is that all the great leaders show up.
Yes.
You actually, whether it's a restaurant,
Yeah.
I've seen restaurants fail all because you go, hey, we had a great year. I don't have to go in anymore. And you go,
Yeah.
no,
Wait, Jimmy,
this
I'm
is
going to
nonsense.
interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you 1 second because, like, actually, I have a story about Jimmy on like his leadership. And this is going to embarrass you. So, whatever. Like, you just got to deal with it. Um, I, we had like over like 270 crew members, I think, on brand. And I've always felt that I'm a friendly person. I see people, I say hello, all of that stuff. But I've never seen anyone do it like Jimmy does. Meaning that, like, we were walking onto set one day and somebody was like nailing something on a wall, like bent over in the corner. And Jimmy was like, "Hey, bud, you're doing a great job." Like, I've never seen anybody do that in my life. You know what I mean? Like, just paying attention to the small things. And I think the showing up is also in recognizing people's contributions. And so for Jimmy, I think leadership is not just like how he commands like a production to be done, or like his contributions to like, oh, let's use this line or change this word, but also making people feel like they are part of something even bigger and that they're important. And I saw that in action. It wasn't
Yeah.
like some theory. So you
Yeah.
can start being embarrassed now, Jimmy.
It sounds like the sort of infectious spirit that you sort of bring to the show, to public facing engagements. You're also practicing behind the scenes. Did you learn that leadership style, the idea of keeping it fun, of showing gratitude to even the smallest players? Did you learn that on SNL from people like Lorne Michaels?
Lorne Michaels, yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things I learned from him is showing up and, just being there for everybody. I think as the part of gratitude, one of my biggest lessons I learned from Cameron Crowe, who's a great writer, director. But he directed me. I was in Almost Famous. You can cue the applause now. You can
I thought
add
you were
it in post.
going to go straight to fever pitch, but okay.
No, I'll start with my first one. I'll go into my filmography after that. This podcast is 3 hours, right? All right, perfect. So I remember I was on set and I saw Cameron giving notes to this extra, and he was like, "Okay, you had a long day. Okay, you got 3 more tables, and then you get to go home." And blah, blah, blah. And he was just giving direction to this extra, and then they did action, and the extra didn't have any lines. It's just in the background. And I was like, whoa. No one was looking at him. He was just him and this extra talking, and he made that person feel like $1 million. And that made everybody go like, we're all doing this. Everybody's worth something here. This is awesome, and I'll never forget that. And it was the coolest thing that he did. So I think combo of that and Lorne Michaels and Saturday Night Live, and I think all the different hosts that come in on Saturday Night Live too, and talking to all of them and seeing how I
Some
think all
people
that
brought that sort of positive addition to the matter that Bose was talking about, and some didn't,
Yeah.
I imagine.
And caring, yeah, and just go like, oh, that was great what you did. I like that. Or when these celebrities host Saturday Night Live, they're coming to a place that they're not used to. So if you have Robert De Niro, for example, he's not used to being on. He's like I remember him asking me where his mark was. Like, Jimmy, where's my mark? I'm like, I'm not going to tell Robert De Niro anything. You can stand wherever you want, dude. I'm good. He's like, no, I don't really know because I've never done this. So where? And I go, oh, it's right there. And then you're going to land. You're going to say the lines facing that way. He's like, okay, cool. Just help each other. We're on the team now. I'm like, I just totally helped. I gave direction to Robert De Niro. What is going on in my life? And he loved it. And we would laugh, and it was just great.
Yeah. So we all know that sort of the best creative teams come from, putting people together with diverse points of view and everyone sharing their ideas and brainstorming together. But how do you all, as strong personalities with good ideas, I imagine, because you've been very successful, how do you balance sort of expressing your own opinions, putting your own stamp on things, with also working collaboratively and bringing in the opinions of others?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
For me, I get very passionate in every job I've had, passionate about how the things should land. So because I'm like, oh, I know that's going to garner results, sometimes I've been wrong, but I always have a strong point of view. But I'm thinking back to times when it's like, look, as part of a creative team, this is outside of my own leadership, which is that you do have to follow the direction of whomever is in charge. It's kind of like any um like a coach or like a general or something. Like if you don't if everybody doesn't fall in line, it's liable that you go wrong. And so at some point as a creative, you can have a strong point of view, you can have a strong idea, you can think it's the best one, but if it is not the one that goes forward, you have to submit and help the next person. And so even just going back to your question about leadership, it is something I've always encouraged my teams, which is that like once I've been in the seat as the CMO to decide which idea goes forward, and now everybody get behind that idea.
Disagree and then commit.
Oh, I think my idea is better. And, we should have done this, should have done that. That's when we're all going to fail. And now we're all in the same boat. So it's like once an idea has been chosen to go forward, everybody put your energy into making sure that that idea is what wins.
How do you steer people, with good, well-meaning ideas in better directions?
I always find with me, this is just me, but I always like to say at least my point of view on something, just to say it. And then there's probably someone in the room that might be better at whatever the thing is. And I'll let them hear my idea and hopefully it sparks something that they can land the plane. And I don't need to take credit for it, but I can hopefully spark something that made them go like, oh yeah, that we can take a piece of that, but I've done this before. Like, for instance, Southwest, we did this episode last night that you watched, but the challenge was to wrap a plane, basically paint the side of an airplane, a giant airplane. So it's a big thing that, and we're going, well, blah, 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 how do you do that? Well, this is going to be seen by a lot of people. And then Bozoma goes, well, when I wrapped a plane for Beats, I go, you wrapped a plane? Who else? I mean, we're talking to someone who's done this. How many people do you know that wrapped a plane before? I mean, what are you talking about?
I don't.
And it was just, yeah, I know. Now you do. Now you know two people. But I mean, it's wild. It was like, she knows she's done this. What hits? What do people look at? What do they see? What are the things that pop? And you kind of go, that's great. We have someone that's played the game before.
So, Jimmy, why at this point in your career did you feel qualified to host a show on branding and marketing?
I think because of all the years of, late night and Tonight Show, and my job is basically selling things, for my guests. I have them on and I pitch their movies or their music or, I'm selling their wares, their products. But I've kind of enjoyed it when we have an integration or, some brand goes, hey, is there any way you can mention toilet paper, this week in the show? And I go, love it. Bring it on. What do you want? I can write whatever I want, right? I go, I will think of something. And then I go, yeah. And we'll talk about, hey, do you put the toilet paper roll over the top or do you put the toilet paper roll with the paper coming under? And you have a debate and people get in fights and it's funny. And that's a fun challenge. So I've done that for the past 15 years. So that's a long time. A lot of shows. I think tonight's show's hitting almost like it's 2,300th show or something crazy.
Oh my God.
So I kind of love the stuff, and I had a weird, again, just an odd idea, and I love to throw them out to people. And so I pitched it to NBC. I typed it up on my iPad. I bothered my wife with all these questions for like months, and then I go, I think this is something I could pitch, and I pitched to NBC, and they said no. But thank you so much. You keep those ideas coming, buddy, and stay strong at late night. And you go, okay. And then I was like, I didn't let it die. I was like, I really do think this is something you should give it a chance to. I think it's different. And as Bozoma was saying, one point, we were talking about this, and we're like, because it's a brand new type of business structure even to paying for the show and all this stuff, but what Bozo was saying, it's kind of like a new playground. It's a new toy to play with for brands. Like,
Right.
how much fun can we have?
Yeah, the companies are sort of sponsoring each episode basically. And so the advertisement isn't necessarily what's generated by the contestants, it's the show itself.
I also want to say that I know Jimmy, his like he's creative and he has done a lot of work with brands, but he's also a student of marketing. I don't want to let that academic part go, because like we were just on a show together where we're playing a little quiz game of like, oh, the taglines and this and that, and Jimmy, he was getting them. And not only that, like he's got the jingles and he remembers. And so it's like, for someone who hasn't had a formal career in marketing, he's still an ad guy. Like I would consider him an ad guy. And so it's like there's a natural love and curiosity for the business of marketing and advertising. And so that, I think, also has a great deal to do with why it's natural for him to be the one who developed the show and brought it to the world.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love a good ad. Don't you love to see a good campaign? I
Yes,
love a great
absolutely.
campaign. Like, I
Yeah.
think Ryan Reynolds is knocking it
Yes.
out of the park.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's
He's going to write an article in our next,
Oh, good.
co-author an article in our next issue about fast advertising and how to sort of quickly
Yes.
Oh,
capitalize
he's
on
the best at he's the
on a
best at
cultural
that, but
moment.
also and also I probably people wouldn't have normally given him a chance had he been on a team or a famous ad agency. I mean, I think he used his fame to go like, give me a chance. I'm going to roll the dice in this.
It sounds like you're saying that in this very crowded marketplace, as companies are thinking about how to break through, whether it's small ones or massive ones, brand integration is one avenue that everyone's keen. Is
Mhm.
there is a sort of obviousness to it though, right? So how do you do it in a way that does feel authentic and not just like, oh, I'm being marketed to right now?
Well, I think it should be obvious. It's
Okay.
like, right? I feel like that's where brands go wrong when they try to be in a place where they're not naturally. We excuse Jimmy because he can actually do it very well. So, like, toilet paper maybe doesn't belong on his desk, but he's going to find a way to bring it in. But the challenge most times is that brands are trying to find integration in scenarios where they simply shouldn't be, because it's not natural for them to be there. And that's why it falls apart. Not because like somebody was like sitting there holding their thing and saying, hey, look at this thing, but because it just wasn't natural to them. And so it's like, look, when you're in the space, it should be obvious that I picked up my Pepsi and drank it because I was thirsty.
And then the second sort of avenue you talked about was this idea of capitalizing on cultural moments. And Jimmy, you certainly do that with your show. Bozoma, you did it, I'm sure, working at Netflix and Apple and all these sort of fast-paced consumer brands. So talk about how you do that in a way that doesn't seem ham-handed and actually does sort of reach the audience you're trying to get to.
There has to be some authenticity behind it too. I know, even though it is the moment, but you take the moment and how do you make it you? So if it is doing a Taylor Swift dance challenge, I could I can do it with Taylor, but I mean the other way to do it is to just do the dance challenge myself and be a 51-year-old man trying to do a dance challenge on TikTok, and that's what it looks like. And it's like, that's more authentic. And you go, he's not trying to be a teenager. He's acting his age. I mean, I'm feeling it now. My era, I'm feeling I'm going into my old man era. I don't know, or getting older era. I feel like if I'm at a high top table, like if I go to a restaurant with a high top, if I drop my napkin, I'm not picking it up.
No, it's not.
My back will hurt, and
And
I
we
will.
definitely can't read the writing on the menus either. So
No,
No.
I'm done, dude. I'm not the person yet that turns the flashlight on, but I'm real close.
I'm there. You know what I mean?
I'm
there.
real close.
Yeah.
So speaking of sort of being of the moment as a star, as a show, as a brand, it is a very divisive time politically in the US. We've seen companies come under fire for moves, celebrities canceled, and executives are really unsure, what sort of risks they can take right now. And I think, the most recent example, obviously in your world, Jimmy, is ABC pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air for comments about Charlie Kirk. And you have made a point of being family friendly and apolitical. So just talk a little bit about why you've made that decision and are sticking to it. And then I'd love to hear from both of you on how you think that corporate brands can navigate this moment and sort of do the right thing, speak out in moments that they find appropriate, but then not get embroiled in controversy. Jimmy, why don't you start?
I mean, it's also tricky and it's all kind of moving very fast. Obviously, if there's a case of government versus the artist, I'm on the artist side. I think everyone should be able to say, whatever they want. It's all. I think for me, I've kind of learned from Saturday Night Live how close you can get to the edge for myself, which is being authentic. My monologues have kind of always been kind of the same. I have like probably 4 or 5 jokes that are kind of about the political world, and then 5 jokes about, fast food or something, and I think if you look in the New York Times the next day, I'm up there. My jokes are up there with all the other guys, but I diversify myself with more poppy stuff. That's just because of what I'm into. They do it better than me, the politics stuff. That's not what they do. And I'm happy that we have different voices out there and all talking. And if you want that, you can get it. So I think I just stick to what I do best.
Yeah.
And whether it be me dressing up as a showgirl and dancing with the K-pop Demon Hunters, that's feels on brand to me. I'm not sure if I would want to see any of the other guys do that. I can only, pay attention to myself and do what I think is the funniest, sharpest, and most entertaining stuff every night.
Yeah. I think in the executive world, it gets tricky because, you're representing yourself as an executive, but you're also representing the company. Where I think sometimes executives get scared, of course, is that their own personal view is going to be taken out of context or, punish the company in a way. And I'm like, that is the truth. So grow up. It's like take a stand, say something, and if you get fired, so be it. And I remember that I was having a lot of these conversations 5 years ago when, it's like Black Lives Matter was popping off and, like George Floyd had been murdered and there'd been like, people were like, oh, should we make a statement? And I had so many friends in the executive space. We were in our little group chats and, people were like, what should I say? And I'm like, well, what do you believe? Say that
Yeah.
thing. Like, no,
Start there.
you got to start with wherever you are. And I think, first of all, this is way different from 20 years ago, where the society did not expect to understand who's behind the glass, the wall. It's like now people want to know, what did the CEO think? What is their opinion on things? Where do they stand? What does the company care for? Like, those are all things that our consumers and our audiences want to know, and so you have to express it. And unfortunately, it's like if that has backlash, then that is the job.
What advice would you give to the senior leaders in our audience who are trying to make their brand stand out right now, especially when it's hard to take risks,
Hmm.
in the economic climate and in the political climate?
Well, I don't know why you have your job if you can't have a stance on something. You have to have an opinion, whether that is cultural opinion or it is an opinion about innovation and what you're going to create next for your company. I don't know of any senior leader who's been put in the job just to tread water. You've got to actually make a change. You've got to actually make some impact in the work that you're doing. And so I think you can hear it in my expression that I don't have a lot of respect for leaders who come in and do nothing.
Jimmy?
I think be different as much as you can. Be different. Take chances. Take risks. Everyone says take risks, obviously, but I mean, really do something fresh, do something new and something we haven't seen, and that will pop. I think you've seen that with Super Bowl commercials, which I always go back to. I'm just a fan, but like having a celebrity in a commercial used to be the big thing. Blah blah blah. It's Michael Jackson drinking Pepsi.
Right.
Oh my gosh! Now that's every commercial. So now what do you do? Because that already is done. Sometimes it was a QR code, and what is that? That was the whole ad. I don't even know if it worked, but it was something different. And it popped, and people were talking about it. So I think there's many ways to attack it from different angles. And I think just write them all out, see what way you can do it, and try to see what's the next or a clever or different angle that no one else is doing. And if you can do that and have people think that they've seen it before, that is the secret sauce. Because if you go like, oh yeah, I'm used to that, of course, where's the beef? I always say that. What? You say where no, it's like that's the right. If you can hit that thing where you're like, yeah, or you hit a jingle, yeah.
Surprise that it becomes instantly familiar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well said. Said.
Okay, I have one recommendation for next season: an AI contestant.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. That would be something, because that's a whole argument. Okay, Allison
I think it would
wants to be embroiled in controversy is what's happening.
I think I
think it would be really interesting.
Hilarious.
It's brainstorming, it's developing concepts, it's thinking out of the box.
Do you think it would work? I don't think it would work.
No. I mean, or maybe AI assistance, something. I did talk to an executive who said the one thing AI doesn't have is taste. And so maybe that is the problem.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
You had some people who didn't have no taste either. So there you go.
Exactly.
Well, thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
This is awesome. We loved it.
Thank you so much.